Did you know that 1 in 8 kids in Atlanta will go hungry tonight? Eating healthy, balanced meals is essential for kids to learn and grow. That's why Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield and education nonprofit Common Threads have teamed up to help schools learn about healthier food preparation. In Atlanta, they're joined by the Dream and will provide education, recipes, and knowledge to students and families about healthier options. Visit anthem.com/dream to learn more. Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield is the trade name of Blue Cross Blue Shield Healthcare Plan of Georgia, Inc.
Sometimes it's hard to decide what you want for dinner, but all you got to say is tacos one time, and I'm in. Tacos and Tequila Mexican Grill, one of our favorite places to go. Hey, it's Otis with the O Show because I can take my whole family. Everybody has a blast. It's a great family atmosphere, some great food, great drinks, too. I like the Al Pastor Margarita while I'm munching on some of the new menu items like the crispy Brussels sprouts. My wife loves the avocado bowl with grilled shrimp. Tacos and Tequila Mexican Grill online at ttatl.com. And if you want deals and specials, follow them on socials, too.
It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant Prime.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I'm Paul Dottino. He's Matt Citak. So glad you could join us for the next hour. Again, a delayed start because of the second day of veteran mandatory minicamp practices and media availabilities. We're not beginning until live 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully you'll be able to get in and join us at 201-939-4513. But we're going to get to your calls in just a little bit. We do have some recapping to do. And don't forget, an archive of this show is available on giants.com/podcasts, your favorite podcast platforms, and also at Apple Podcasts as well. Matt, I think it's very important we get right to the crux of this. Let's just get to some of the cleanup logistics first. The Giants had their final minicamp practice today, which again is an extension of OTAs, non-contact. They only worked for about an hour, and then Brian Daboll ended it an hour earlier than expected, which, as I talked with John earlier, and if you've looked at our quick recap that was already posted on social media, I thought that was a very strong indication that Daboll got done what he wanted to get done, and he was pleased with his players, because we know Brian, when he's not happy, we know about it, and he certainly would not have cut practice short.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, what might have played a role in that also was the fact that a couple of guys got a little nicked up during yesterday's. I mean, Coach spoke about it before practice.
Tell them about the three guys.
There were three wide receivers, got just a little banged up. Coach did say that they think that all three should be good to go.
Coda, Slayton, Ford Wheaton.
Yes, Chase Coda, Darius Slayton, Bryce Ford Wheaton. Coach Daboll did say he expects all three to be ready to go for training camp, which is about, 6 weeks from now?
Yes, sir.
6 weeks. So, he didn't outright say that was, the reason why practice was a little on the lighter side, but after, on the second to last day of practices before the summer break, to have a couple of guys go down like that, I feel like it might have played a little role in that. Although I do recall last year, the last minicamp practice on the same Wednesday was also a little bit on the lighter side. Mm-hmm. So this just could be how, Coach Daboll, the whole coaching staff, thinks is the best way to go before, they break for the summer. So if this is what Coach thinks is best, it's definitely fine by me. I
thought there were two plays that I jotted down from the 11-on-11 period. You may have agreed. Maybe you saw a different play that you liked more. Darian Beavers, the linebacker, who's really coming on and again showing that maybe he is healthy enough to challenge for a roster spot, had a pass deflected that Trey Herndon was able to intercept and run back for a pick six. That by far was the play of the day. And I thought the other play that kind of caught my eye a little bit was a rolling Drew Lock as he sprinted out to his right, went across his body, made a throw more to the left hash, which was completed to Isaiah Hodgins for a nice game. I thought those, to me, were the two plays of the day during the 11-on-11s.
Yeah, the Beavers deflection to Herndon interception, I would say, was definitely
sweet.
it was sweet. I was gonna say the top play of practice. Again, there were only 2 like full team periods and then one short abbreviated one towards the end. That was definitely the top play. One of the other plays that definitely caught my eye, and John has made fun of me or gave me some cracks that I've been a little very high on this guy, especially the last month. But there was one play. Who was at quarterback? I forgot. I think
according to John, nobody's allowed to have any guys. Just understand that. So it's not personal.
Yeah, no, he makes fun of me because I like the rookie class, but sue me. I'm excited about this rookie class. But I believe it was Drew Lock at quarterback.
Yeah.
Threw a screen pass to Tyrone Tracy.
Yes.
Who busts through a nice little hole, and if this was a game,
he was gone.
He was at least
he would have been gone.
Probably gone. At the very least, we're talking about a 20 to 30 yard
reception. Was that the one to the left side?
Yeah. Closer to the sideline.
The hole was huge.
It was a huge hole. He had a lot of room, but you just like to see that catch, immediate turn, and just turn and burst upfield.
Yeah.
That speed, I'm excited to see what he can do. Allen Robinson had a couple of catches from Tommy DeVito. And Malik Nabers had a nice little sideline curl route where Deonte Banks was on him, and again, there's no press coverage, there's no contact, so in a normal situation, Deonte Banks or any corner would get right up in the receiver's face.
No. He's telling you he's going to make that play.
Yeah,
he's telling you that's not a completion.
Probably, but what I was going to say is just that I will say again, no contact, but Malik Nabers was able to create a pretty good amount of separation between him and the corner, where even if this was a game situation, I think Nabers would have come down with the catch. There wouldn't have been as much space between him and the cornerback. Might not have gone for quite as big of a gain, but just Malik Nabers, I mean, this has been a common theme of the last couple weeks, but his just ability to create separation is something I haven't seen in the wide receiver room here in a while.
Well, that's what his
exciting.
trademark was at LSU.
Yeah.
We talked about if that was the flavor that you wanted the strawberry from the ice cream case, that's what you were going to do. And if you wanted the chocolate or the vanilla maybe from the ice cream case, you were going to go for Fitzgerald or you were going to go for Odunze. It just, which ice cream did Harrison, right.
Who's compared to Larry
Compared to Fitzgerald. There you go. Thank you,
Cardinals.
Pearson. But that's what it came down to. Which flavor of ice cream did you want?
Yeah.
We all knew those top 3 guys were separated from the rest of the pack. And so Nabers is showing why that was his trademark, though. I think that's the good news from your perspective. What you're saying is that we are seeing what we believe the advertisement promised us.
Oh, 100%. With his speed and his explosiveness, I would say the thing that we have not gotten the opportunity to see yet, only because there's still no contact, is his strength and his ability to catch contested passes. Now, those are 2 things that I am very excited to see once the pads come on in training camp. I cannot wait for Malik Nabers and Deonte Banks to match up against each other, whether it's one-on-ones, team drills, I don't care. I want to see good on good, iron sharpen iron. I want to see those 2 go at it, actually go in full throttle, and see who comes out on top.
Well, as I was watching practice, Brian Baldinger visited here today from NFL Network, and Baldy and I were watching practice together, and he had commented to me, Barkley's in Philadelphia, how do you feel about that? What do you think of the offense without him? And I said, well, Barkley was the only headache player on offense. And he goes, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I said, right now, this team does not have a headache player on offense. And he said to me, yeah, but let's see how long it takes for Nabers to be that guy. He's real intrigued by him too. So maybe he can be a headache player by October. Maybe he can. It's going to take him at least a month though, because to be a headache player, you have to establish respect. You can't establish respect in 1 or 2 games. It's going to take at least a month's body of work. And if he just explodes and nobody seems to be able to stop him throughout the course of September, then by October, coordinators will pay special attention to him.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get overly excited because he is yet to step on the field for a game. He's yet to step on the field for even a real practice.
He hasn't gotten hit yet.
100%. You're right. So that is why I will say, in John's defense, we were joking about before, temper expectations a little bit until they start to, really show it and prove it. But from what I've seen so far, Malik Nabers can come out week 1 against a, at best middle of the pack Vikings defense, at least in the secondary. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has a strong showing as soon as week 1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put those expectations out there for him because, as you said, it does take some time. Most of the time.
Too late. You cast the line already.
It does take, a lot of guys, most guys, some time to get acclimated just to the speed, the physicality of the NFL. But, I mean, every year we see a handful of rookies come in and at various positions, not just wide receiver, but come in on week 1, day 1, and just start lighting the league up. And all I'm saying is it wouldn't shock me to see Malik Nabers do that. I'm not expecting him to. I think he'll be solid right out of the gate. I don't know if he'll, completely light it up out there, but as you said, I don't think it will be too long before we start seeing a little shades of that Malik Nabers that we saw last year at LSU.
We would all welcome it. How about that?
Oh yeah.
All right. All right. So we've talked about some of the players. Let's get right to the coordinators. Again, we haven't had an opportunity to really grill these guys since they were all brought in here. And I say all brought in, of course, Gabriel, the former assistant special teams coach with the Jets, is now the Giants special teams coordinator. And Shane Bowen, formerly of the Tennessee Titans, is now the Giants' new defensive coordinator. So 2 of 3 new coordinators here. Mike Kafka, a holdover, of course. So I should not say all, but certainly the 2 guys that we really have not had much of a chance to grill. So let's go through a few of the things that really caught our eyes from these 3 guys.
Okay.
Coach Gabriel was first. Spoke about the kickoff return and the very unique rules that are going to be in play this year. Said he was very excited about Dante Miller, little turbo, and of course Tyrone Tracy, the rookie running back who's just been taken. He does believe that because of the new kickoff return blocking schemes, which will be very limited with the new rules, that it is going to be more of a running play. And more running backs are going to be probably recruited to do that job. He also talked about how because you're going to want to have lower kickoffs, that you will probably see a lot of 2 return guys back on kickoffs because there's going to be more room back there that one guy would have to cover. So you'll probably, with lower kickoffs, you're going to need 2 kickoff return guys to cover all that ground on the kickoffs that won't have a lot of hang time.
Yeah, this is actually what I wanted to go into a little more detail about of all the coordinators because I found this the most interesting of all 3 guys. Is Gabriel was explaining this, how basically with the old kickoff rules, hang time on kicks was very important.
Huge.
The longer the ball stayed in the air, the more opportunity the kickoff coverage had to get downfield closer to where the returner was going to catch the ball. Now, though, with the kickoff team lining up, I believe it's the 40-yard line, and the return team on the 35-yard line, and this is the opposing 35 and 40-yard line. So the kickoff return team, it's going to be their 35 and 40-yard line. Because of this, the kickoff doesn't really matter anymore, the kickoff itself. So kickoff, the hang time, there's 0 consequence for having a long hang time now.
Because nothing happens until the ball is caught.
Till the ball is caught or until the ball lands in the landing zone, which I believe is between the 20-yard line and the goal line. The ball has to land in that 20-yard range. Otherwise, I believe it's essentially like a kickoff out of bounds.
Right.
And the ball is on the 40-yard line. So because of this, your return guys now, they're going to have to cover more ground. Instead of just having one guy out there with these high kickoffs that has ample time to, get under it, catch it, and then start running upfield, as you mentioned, they're now going to be a lot more lower kicks. I wouldn't say as maybe kind of like squib kicks, but again, has to go at least to the 20-yard line. So because of this, Gabriel said that you're going to see a lot more teams putting out 2 returners, 1 on each side of the field, so they can handle those, less hang time kickoffs and catch it, or, if it lands in the landing zone, pick it up almost immediately, because once the ball lands in the landing zone, it's a live ball. The kickoff team, if they get down there fast enough, it takes a weird bounce, they could theoretically pick it up and return it for a touchdown, or just recover it themselves, and it's ball going the other way there. So that's what I found most important. We've been talking all offseason about the new kickoff rules and, potential kickoff returners for the Giants. And I don't know, at least since when I've been on the show, we haven't spent that much time talking about the fact that there's a strong chance that there are going to be two guys back out there.
Mm-hmm.
Could be, Tracy, Turbo Miller, Tracy, whoever. There are Wandell Robinson, Gunnar Olszewski. Like,
I think Olszewski's going to stay on punt returns.
I think so too, but if there are two guys back there, who knows? Huh. I feel like during the preseason, especially Gabriel and Dable, the coaching staff, they're going to play around with a lot of different combinations and see what works best. But yeah, Gabriel, that part of his press conference, is the first time I really thought about it like that, and I just thought it was pretty interesting.
Well, that's what he does. Yeah. He has spent his entire time since coming to the Giants trying to make sure that he's got this sucker down, because even he said that the biggest priority for the players in this situation is to make sure they know the rules.
Yes.
This is not easy, especially when you haven't been accustomed to it for how many years, however long you've played football, since the time you were a tyke. This is totally new. This is totally different. And look, I'm going to be one to tell you, I've said this before on the program, maybe not with you, I'm concerned the officials are going to have a tough time trying to officiate it. I really am.
It's going to be a learning curve for everybody.
Sure.
Everybody on both sides of the field and the refs. I agree.
So that was the biggest stuff from him.
Yes.
Let's go to Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator. And by the way, it has been said by Coach Brian Dable and Mike Kafka, then seconded it today. They've still not determined who's going to call plays during the season. But Dable has been calling the plays during the spring practices. So Kafka was asked about, as an offensive coordinator, what is your new role now if this becomes the way it's going to be? So he talked about how he helps with the fundamentals, the techniques, and the formations between the plays during the spring sessions while Dable is actually making the calls. Said he also processes the interaction with the players during practice, and that he's very comfortable in that role because, after all, when he was in Kansas City, that's the way it worked.
Oh, yeah.
Kafka was only the quarterback's coach, but the assistants on the offensive side of the ball had a cohesive effort under Andy Reid, who was actually calling the plays. So this is not exactly foreign territory like the new kickoff return rule is. This is not from Mike Kafka.
No, he's used to this. He made that very clear. And not that I was expecting him to say anything else, but he just proved today to the media that he's full team player. He literally said, I will do whatever Coach Dable asked me to do. I'm here to help the team win. I don't care if I'm calling plays. If I'm not calling plays, I still have so many other responsibilities that I'll be in charge of. It is all good, on my front. So again, he's been like that since he got here. I wasn't expecting him to say anything different, but I feel like, especially with some of the media members, I feel like trying to get a certain answer out of him.
How about badgering?
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Yes, it is.
So they clearly looking for him to answer one certain way, and he just wasn't biting. Gave the team first answer, which is what we've come to expect from him, honestly, because that's what he's shown since the day he showed up here.
Yeah, for sure. And Kafka and Dable also talked about they both believe and are counting on Evan Neal, who still, because of his offseason ankle surgery, has not done very much during the spring drills. But they both believe that he'll be ready by the first of training camp, and they expressing confidence in him. In fact, Dable said again for the second day in a row, he does expect all of his players to be physically and medically cleared by the time training camp starts.
Yeah, and Jermaine Illuminor was one of the few players that spoke after practice, and he echoed the same exact sentiment. I mean,
about Neal.
Neal, yeah.
He did.
I think the last question was basically saying, like, are you going to take any practice reps at right tackle over these next 6 weeks, or are you just focusing at left guard? And without any hesitation, he said, I am only focusing on left guard. I have full confidence in Evan at right tackle. He's going to be there at the start of training camp. We are all so confident in him and his ability. I'm only focusing on left guard. So clearly everyone in the building is on the same page when it comes to, Evan's health, him being ready for training camp, and that right tackle position. The other thing I took note from Mike Kafka's press conference.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Is just he spoke about Wan'Dale Robinson, which I know has been, a big talking point for us, for those in the media all offseason, because a lot of people think now that he's fully healthy, has a full offseason, he could be a potential breakout guy for the Giants, which you and I spoke about a couple weeks ago. But the thing that I took note that Mike Kafka said was that he's really stepped up and become more of a leader this offseason. And, he's only going into his third season. And again, has not had a full offseason with a full normal offseason since he got here, since he got drafted. Then last year he was dealing with the rehab from a torn ACL. So to hear that he's really stepping up as a leader, that's great to hear. And, there are some veteran guys in that wide receiver room, obviously. Darius Slayton's going into year 6. Allen Robinson's been in the league for it's close to a decade now. Isaiah McKenzie's been around. So there are veteran voices in that room, but he went out of his way to say that Wan'Dale's really stepped up as a leader.
Yep.
And considering there is still plenty of youth in that room, especially with Malik Nabers and Jalen Hyatt, it's great to see that not only is Wan'Dale kind of stepping up on the field, but he's also stepping off the field as well.
And Wan'Dale said that he kind of got the feeling at the end of last season, the last couple of games, that they were kind of pushing him. The room was kind of pushing him in that direction. And that was basically the gist of what he said. Also that he believes that he's now all the way back after the leg, the ACL surgery, because he didn't have the opportunity last year after coming back with the previous injury, and then last year got hurt, and he was, he didn't get hurt last year, but he was rehabbing. And now this year, he didn't have to rehab in the offseason. He claims he's been doing things on the GPS that he's never done in his life before.
Yeah.
So
that was good
thinks
to hear.
he'll be more explosive and faster and quicker than he's ever been in his life. So that could be good for the Giants, I think. Final thoughts on Shane Bowen, the defensive coordinator, who we really haven't had much of a chance to hear anything from. He was asked about his base defense, and he said, we'll find out what best fits the players. He does expect to use a lot of multiplicity on the back end. I think in general, that's the shortest way to describe his long answer, which didn't really tell anybody a whole lot.
No, but it was long.
Okay. He did say he's very interested in the rookies, thinks they've all done a good job, but the proof's in the pudding. He said, listen, it's about competition. When we get to training camp, that's when we're going to separate the guys. Because right now, while he's happy with what he's seen, it's not enough. It's just not enough. They haven't been hitting, and they got to step it up because guys are going to have to win jobs. And so he says they're on the right track. He says this is no longer a new defense. It's now a Giants defense. He's like, I've been here for 9 weeks. This isn't new anymore. Okay? Everybody's got to know what's going on. And when they come back to training camp, they better have it down.
Yeah.
He's making it clear. He wants to see some homework. These guys better not ignore the books while they're away for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the same
feel? Oh, yeah. I mean,
okay.
And most people, going into year 1 in a new system, it's, kind of fair to say at this point of the year, it's, still a new system. But he made it very clear, this is not a new defense. This is the Giants defense. And as you said, he's like, I expect everyone to know this, inside and out, like the back of their hand, basically. The only other thing that stood out to me during Shane Bowen's press conference was it feels like the last couple of weeks the media has been hounding more so Coach Dable than Shane Bowen about the, I guess, decrease in aggressiveness with this new defense. Because obviously it's no secret that the last 2 years under Wink Martindale, the defense was schematically very aggressive. They
blitz
were
happy.
One of the most blitz-heavy defenses in the league the last 2 years.
Yes.
Each season were top 3 or top 5 in terms of blitz rate. And so Shane Bowen was asked about this and asked about his defense being less aggressive. And he made sure to point out, he's like, look, our defense schematically, yes, will be less aggressive, but don't think for a second that the play itself is going to be any less aggressive. I expect my players to be flying around the field, flying to the ball every single chance they get. And that was very encouraging to hear. again, not something I would expect him to say anything different, but the media has consistently kept on asking about, less aggressive defense. They've been asking all the defensive players, how do you feel playing in a less aggressive defense? So it was just good for me to hear the coordinator of the defense straight up say, look, this defense is not going to be any less aggressive. You might see a little less blitzes, but everyone is still going to be running 120% every single play, flying to the football, and that's what you want to see from your defense.
Indeed. Finally, the first official training camp practice will be July 24th. That we also know from the discussions that went on today. So that's the deal. That's what we heard from the second day of mandatory veterans minicamp. Pretty much, I guess they're going to have one more session with the players tomorrow. A very quick and early short walkthrough tomorrow morning, from what I understand. And then it'll be time to say sayonara to the players, give them 6 weeks off, and as we said, they better be ready, books in hand, when they come back on July 24th. Rookies will be able to come in a few days earlier, but the whole team convenes on July 24th for its first official practice, which will not be very much. We all know the first practice is kind of like a walkthrough, because it has to be. You got to ramp it up. But we'll get you details on the practice sessions once they become available from the marketing department, and you guys will be able to go to the website, get yourself some free tickets, get an opportunity to come out here and see these guys perform. Don't forget, coming up on the 20th of this month, there is the Night of Legends.
Oh, yeah.
The Giants' 100th season celebration really gets off with a huge bang over at Madison Square Garden, the theater at Madison Square Garden, where they are going to have one unbelievable lineup of Giants guests, a panel of just the top of Big Blue history will be there to talk about Giants football and the organization. So go to Giants.com for more information. You can also go to Ticketmaster.com as well. That is on June the 20th.
Next Thursday.
June the 20th, next Thursday. June the 20th, over at the theater at Madison Square Garden. I have heard there are still a few handfuls of tickets left. They're not quite sold out. So
it's close, though.
If you're thinking about it, make your move, because you may not be able to get in if you wait much longer.
Yeah. And one more note, just want to say, the team, as you said, breaking tomorrow for the summer break, back in 6 weeks, but Giants.com and the Giants Podcast Network, over those next 6 weeks, we're going to continue to be providing plenty of content for you guys, all the Giants content you could dream of. We have interviews with players. We'll have articles on a lot of those interviews, a variety of other columns up on Giants.com between me, Dan Salamone, John Schmelk. So just a little reminder to keep up with Giants.com and the Giants Podcast Network.
The word vacation is not in my dictionary.
No, not a vacation. It's not a summer break for us. We'll still be here every day.
Never has been. He thinks this is new news. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm just reminding our listeners.
You're new to the program, so it's okay. All right. 201-939-4513 is our phone number here. I'm at Giants WFAN. He is at Matt Citak. Don't be afraid. Hit us up on Twitter if you like. In the meantime, it is about time to go to the phone calls, and then I forgot the promos. All right. Yeah, Pearson, I know. I got to get the promos in here. Giants TV is the official promotional app. It is available at all of your favorite podcast platforms. Let's see. Go to Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app as well. All right. Want to make sure I got that in. Giants season ticket memberships for 2024. Want to get in on those too? Get a little bit of an early jump? Exclusive member benefits for the season as well as the off-season can be found out at Giants.com/tickets. Limited inventory is available. And finally, it seems like these promos are so old, they're growing mold by now. The Giants Huddle podcast, available all year round, as Matt just said. All kinds of interviews, long-form interviews with Giants people as well as NFL people. And it's available on your favorite podcast platform, or go to Giants.com/podcasts or Apple Podcasts if you prefer. All right, now we can go to the phone calls. 201-939-4513. Ron in New Jersey is on line 2. You are first on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hello, guys. Thanks for letting me participate in the show.
Sure.
I have a comment question on the kickoff return. Funny, I didn't know you guys were going to be talking about that. But first, if I may, just a quick sort of human side to football. So I call myself a season ticket holder. You guys say member. But this year, I was planning on going to Charlotte. So I have relatives down there. And not only are they football fans, but their daughter went from K to 12 with Daniel Jones and Charlotte Latin. So Charlotte Latin and then I assume Duke were putting together a program. They're going to be about 500 Daniel Jones fans there. And listen, I might be a little disappointed that they're playing in Munich instead of Charlotte, but it's got to be a real drag for him and his family. I know that might be, corny. We talk about Daniel Jones, good, bad, or otherwise. He's our guy. Yeah. And he's a human being. And to play in front of his old friends, I'm disappointed, but I'm sure his family is much more disappointed. I know that's something we don't always think about.
I have not talked to Daniel about that, but you are right.
Talk to him.
He has family down in Carolina, and I'm pretty sure that they probably would love to have had him play there.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense, and I haven't even thought about that angle to the German game.
Yeah, I will say that obviously the NFL creates the schedule. It was all out of everyone's control.
And Daniel Jones's background was not a factor.
Unfortunately not.
No,
but that's a very fair point. I hadn't thought about that either.
So actually, once I saw this when they came out and said they're going to play one game in Munich, I thought, "Oh crap! Please don't be Charlotte or Carolina." Anyway, so here's my question. You guys were alluding to it, and I'll make an easy prediction that teams are going to switch their return men throughout the year with this kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm conceptually in favor of it, right? Let's break up the pace. But my question is, what's the prototype do you think now? But even more important, my secondary question is, do you put your best guy or more of a special teams guy? You know how people are reluctant to put, a Dory Jackson back to get the punt. Is this where, like, your guy, Bryce Ford Wheaton, makes the seventh guy in the receiver room and he returns? What do you? I know it's a long way, but what do you guys think about that?
Well, the numbers that they're listing Tyrone Tracy at, to me, are the perfect numbers for a kickoff return guy right now, and that's why so many people are saying that running backs, should be the guy. A, because of their vision. B, because of their slashing ability to then hit the hole quickly if they need to, or for that matter, to make that one cut and then move. 5'11", 209 pounds. You know what?
Is that universally accepted now?
Nothing's universally accepted because these special teams coaches haven't the foggiest idea how it's going to play out.
Right.
But I will tell you that right now I'm getting the sense that that's the kind of blueprint you're going to be looking at least at the beginning, until they find out how this thing plays. Then you'll see some tweaks.
I agree with that. But do you think it's a guy who that's what he does, or is he from the running backs room and does both? And can they do both?
It's going to depend on how much room you have on the back of your roster. Look, if you're a really good team and you have the ability to hide a guy on the back of your 53, right, who's primarily just a kick return guy, well, that's really great. But if you're not, well, then that guy's going to have to come from someone who might be in your rotation. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be a guy who's a starter and a bell cow, so to speak. I'll give you a good example, right?
Please.
The other day, down in Washington, Brian Baldinger was just talking to me today at practice, and we discussed the kickoff returners for the Giants, the potential guys that they might use. And he said to me, believe it or not, the Commanders had a Robinson and Eckler back on kickoff return that they were starting this past week. Eckler and Robinson. Now, those two guys, they're A-lister players.
They're top two running backs.
Those guys are not, back of the depth chart guys.
That's the heart of my question. That's interesting.
So a lot's going to depend on what is your luxury. Do you have the luxury to make it a back of the depth chart guy, or are you forced if you want any production at all, to use one of your frontliners.
I will say, I mean, again, it's, only minicamp and it's OTAs and minicamp, so take it with a grain of salt. But we saw some of the Giants' top receivers doing kickoff return.
Wandale Robinson.
Yeah, Wandale Robinson, Darius Slayton. Those are the two guys that came to mind. They've been back there with all the other kick returners participating in these drills during these offseason programs. So, again, I think Michael Gabriel is going to play around throughout training camp, throughout the preseason, try to see who, I guess, fits the mold the best. But, I mean, as you even brought up, I do think it's very possible that we see a variety of different combinations, at least through the first preseason and maybe even the first month of the season.
Maybe longer.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah,
It wouldn't surprise me.
It adds a little bit of drama, right? Just the fact that we're talking about it in the beginning of the year, we'll be talking about this. So I guess, I'll give the NFL a point.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate the phone call. 201-939-4513.
Ron's call just reminded me, one other thing that was brought up during Michael Gabriel's press conference that I think we should talk about real quick.
Okay.
Was the possibility of having someone other than Graham Gano do the kickoffs with these new kickoff rules.
Oh, yes. He said a non-kicker.
A non-kicker.
Because
so we're
some
talking
of the
about,
Giants have had experience in the past.
Yeah, so we're talking about a position player potentially taking the kickoff, because with the new rules, there are going to be a lot more kickoffs. And so, not that kickers can't tackle, because obviously we've seen every kicker across the league tackle, but it might benefit at least some coverage units to have a position player do the kickoff, because then it's a full 11 versus 11, as opposed to, in some cases, with some kickers, not talking about, Graham Gano, but some kickers around the league who don't really have much experience tackling. It's sort of like you're trying to go 10 versus 11.
See, Gabriel needs Matt Barr to come back out of retirement. Because Matt Barr was the one Giants kicker beyond anyone else who was very willing to tackle guys.
Yeah. And he didn't say that that's definitely going to happen, Gabriel. He just mentioned that that is something they are considering. I think that is obviously something we'll see a little bit more once preseason games start.
I saw Justin Tucker said he put on weight for that exact reason.
Did he?
I saw that as well.
I did not see that.
But the thing that also made me think of this was the Chiefs have made it very clear that they have Justin Reed, a safety, who I believe took a couple of kickoffs for them last year when Harrison Butker got hurt. But Justin Reed has been practicing doing the kickoffs with the new rules for that exact reason.
Well, it gives you 11 tacklers on the field as opposed to 10 plus a kicker.
Yeah, exactly.
And Gabriel actually, I love the phrase that he used. He said, we see the kickoff as the first play of the defensive series.
Yeah.
Interesting, right?
Yep.
201-939-4513. James in Georgia is next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello, James.
What's up, guys? Thanks for taking me twice in 1 week.
Well, that's all right. We're breaking the rules a little bit right now.
Yeah. I know y'all got a slow period coming up here soon anyway, right? So I know one thing John had said last week, we could send in some type of questions, because it's going to be a slow period to see, still some time, right? So I tweeted him. I said, I know one time y'all did a show of if you took Giants players and made a whole baseball team. I said take other New York athletes from other teams and built your Giants 53. And the example I sent them, I would put Igor Shesterkin as the center, so because nobody could get past them. But yeah, I probably put Isaiah Hartenstein as my tight end.
Before you go any further, I'm telling you now, that team better have Jalen Brunson, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and Giancarlo Stanton on it. I'm just telling you that right now before you go any further.
The Villanova 3 is going to be the quarterback and two wide receivers. One of them is going to be a wide receiver.
There you go.
At least. But
don't forget Matt Rempe either with the Rangers.
I was going to say, you're talking about the Villanova crew.
Rempe definitely on
throw
defense.
Mikal Bridges in there too. Give my Nets a little bit of love.
Okay.
Why?
All right. Yeah.
He's part of the Villanova crew. He's good, and he's part of the Villanova crew.
I was trying to look up some New York soccer clubs for a good kicker, but they don't really give a whole bunch of stats. So I was like, well, we'll stick to what we know.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we'll put that in the suggestion box, and if we get to it, that'll be a great show for you to call back.
That's all right. I did call about some of the interviews that over the couple of days. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. And if you have, like, how they were talking about the defense is still aggressive and all that stuff, I don't want to see where a couple of weeks in they're talking about simplifying the defense because they're thinking too much. One thing that Okereke said was, and Bowen was like, yeah, you have to, it's not just a move right. Defense. You have to think about things. And, I don't want it to be, because we've seen in the past where, we're going to simplify. Guys are thinking too much out there. I don't want to start, the period and 3 or 4 weeks in, Bowen's talking about, okay, we got to simplify it, dumb it down. The guys are missing tackles here, not in the right spots, I don't want it to be too complicated off the back, and then you have to dial back because you're losing games.
That's fair, James, because, years ago when Rod Rust was the defensive coordinator here, the words you did not want to hear, but we did in those days, was the read and react defense. And that for every Giants fan who was around in those days will cause some really bad stomach cramps. I'll tell you that right now.
Because you're reading, and by the time you're reading, the other guy's already on the next page. So, and I know y'all do like over/under show for later, but with again with the retirement, do you think 5 or 6 touchdowns is what's the over/under on that out of the receiving room as a whole? And who do you think is going to lead that, being Theo or Cager? Or
you mean the tight ends room?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll take that under advisement. And James, again, please call us again, 201-939-4513. I am sure that the tight ends room will be in John's over-unders by the time we get to training camp. I guarantee it. He's always playing around with those things nonstop. So we will, I'm sure, be part of that. So I'm not going to spoil it now by having that conversation. 201-939-4513. Line 3 has Cal in Connecticut. You're next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Thanks for calling.
Long-time listener. First time calling in.
Great.
I wanted to ask you guys, I got a buddy of mine who swears Malik Nabers is going to win off rookie. And I kind of tell him that's a little bit of wishful thinking. I know Puka Nacua broke the receiving record for rookies last year, catches and yards, and he still didn't win it. So I want to know what you guys think, if it's realistic, and what has to happen in order for Nabers to win it. And I'll take your answer off air. Thank you, guys.
Sure thing. Thank you for the call. 201-939-4513. You want to take a shot at that first?
Yes, I just first want to just look up the voting. Okay, so Puka Nacua came in second last year for Offensive Rookie of the Year. C.J. Stroud won, and I will say C.J. Stroud had just about the best rookie season we've seen from a quarterback ever. So I feel like that played the biggest part in, Puka Nacua not winning that. He clearly was close. He received the second amount of votes by a significant margin. And so then what would have to happen for Malik Nabers to win it this year? I would say he does not have to break the rookie receiving record.
No.
Nacua had 1,500 yards, I think. 1,486. He doesn't have to beat that.
Close enough.
He doesn't have to beat that. But, I would say if Malik Nabers, breaks 1,000 yards with 8 touchdowns, maybe, I feel like that would put him in the running. Some of it is definitely going to have to do with, obviously, how the other rookies do. I mean, this draft this year broke the record for quarterbacks taken in the first round. So you have Caleb Williams, who is definitely going into the season as the favorite. You have Jaden Daniels, the number 2 pick. Both of those guys are, it sounds like, are going to be the starting quarterbacks from week 1. I think the Bears named Caleb Williams the starter a month ago before they even got in for offseason program. I don't know if Washington's made a similar announcement, but I would think that Jaden Daniels will be the starter, if it's not week 1, very early in the season, over Marcus Mariota. Other guys, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, I don't know if they're going to necessarily be on the field week 1, but it's definitely easier for a quarterback to win the award.
Without a doubt.
Because they touch the ball every play. It's the same thing with MVP voting. The quarterbacks are always at the top of the MVP voting for that same exact reason. Now, if Malik Nabers puts up a special season, and again, I'm talking 1,000 to 1,200 yards and anywhere from maybe 8 to 10 touchdowns, I think he would 100% land at the very least within the top 3 of Rookie of the Year voting. But at the same time, not only does he have to compete with all those rookie first-round quarterbacks, but you also have Marvin Harrison Jr., who got picked before Malik Nabers. You have Rome Odunze, who I would say, as much as I love Rome Odunze as a prospect, and I think he's going to have a great career, he might struggle to put up as big of numbers this season alone just because the Bears wide receiver room also has Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, while Marvin Harrison and Malik Nabers are both immediately stepping in to the number 1 option in the passing game on their respective offenses. Yeah. But there are also, a couple of running backs who seem like rookie running backs that are going to be the starting, potentially featured backs from week 1. So it's going to be tough for Malik Nabers to win Rookie of the Year. I don't think, at least publicly, he has not stated that as anywhere near the top of his mind. I don't think it is. I think he's worried about learning the offense, getting accustomed to the offense, to his teammates, to the building here, and just going out there and doing the absolute best that he can to help this team win. I don't think he had, from what I've seen from him in the month and a half that he's been in this building, he's putting the team first. He's going to always put the team first and cares way more about team success than personal success. So if he ends up putting up a great season and taking home that award, that's great. I think he would, without a doubt, so much rather not win the award and see the Giants win 10 games and make the playoffs than win the award and maybe, the Giants go 7-10 and miss the playoffs. I
would hope he feels that way.
I mean, I'm pretty sure when he spoke to the media during OTAs,
it seemed like he felt that way.
He had some, I don't remember the exact quote, but it basically was something along those lines of he cares way more about the team's success than his own personal success.
There have been 5 wide receivers in the NFL who've won Offensive Rookie of the Year since 2000, just for FYI. That would be Anquan Bolden, Odell Beckham Jr., Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, and Percy Harvin. Those are the 5 wide receivers since 2000 who have been AP Offensive Rookie of the Year. So it is not a rarity. It certainly can happen. Oh, yeah. I mean, that is virtually 1/4 of the time.
Yeah. Again,
or 1/5 of the time.
I truly believe, and Marvin Harrison's great and, could end up having a better season than Malik Nabers. Yeah. Could. I think Nabers' biggest competition is definitely going to be Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels.
All right, 201-939-4513. We go back to the phones. Scott in New Mexico is on the line, and you're next on BBKL. Hello.
Hi, guys. In regards to the previous caller, and to your profuse praise of Malik Nabers, I think Malik Nabers is a generational talent that comes along maybe once every 20 years or so. And last year, CeeDee Lamb, I think, led the NFL with 135 catches. I think Tyreek Hill had maybe 120 or 119, I don't remember. He has that ability, in my opinion, to do that. Forgetting whether he's going to be Rookie of the Year, he could potentially be most valuable player of the league. If you look at his last year at LSU when he had over 1,500 yards, I think, and 90 catches. And that's what Brian Thomas, I think, on the other side. So you're talking about he got most of the receptions. And what I'm looking at is if they use him to that degree as they do CeeDee Lamb in Dallas, he could have easily 100 and some odd catches for the year and really make a positive influence on the Giant offense.
Scott, 17 players had at least 100 catches last year.
Right.
So whether or not he winds up getting that many, and I don't think in the Giants' plan they want that. Honestly, I get the impression they want to spread it around a lot more than force-feeding him. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that he does. Even
Right.
if you're one of the 17 or one of, let's just say he adds on and becomes the 18th, for him to get any kind of MVP consideration is really far-fetched because that's an awful lot of guys to catch 100 balls.
I'm not so sure it's far-fetched, Paul. As I said, he's a generational talent, the same way Odell Beckham was. And I think he has a positive influence to do that. Now, obviously, I don't know how the Giants are going to design their offense, but I see him getting way over 100 receptions this year if they use him. And if it is more where they're going to sort of like break it up a little bit, so some of the other receivers are getting catches and so forth, then maybe it'll change. But right now I see him as better than Marvin Harrison Jr., better than anybody in the draft. So that's the way I look at him. My second point that I wanted to ask you about, I looked at the press conference of Daniel Bellinger. I've been a big Daniel Bellinger fan since he came in, but I feel he's been sort of pushed to the side a little bit, and I don't know why that is. Tobe Hooper, who my son knows,
he got hurt, Scott. I'm going to stop you there because Brian Dable told us today that Bellinger did get nicked up a few weeks ago, would not go into any details, but said that's why they've held him back.
Okay.
So that's a little bit of a mystery, but we now know something was there.
Got it. Because I think they've not used him in the capacity. I know last year he was potentially, really acted as a blocker. But he has the ability, according to his head coach at San Diego State, to catch the football.
Mm-hmm.
And they said he's a good he can catch the football. And I think with Theo Johnson coming in, he's sort of been overlooked a little bit. Now that I understand he has an injury, maybe that's the reason. But I think they're underutilizing somebody like that. So if he's going to work into the offense, and he certainly has the size to play tight end, I don't understand why they would be using him less as opposed to more. And I wanted to get your opinion on whether they can utilize him a little bit better than they did in his rookie season, although he got hurt as well.
I think there's one simple answer to that, Scott. I hate to say it to you, but we're talking about a coach who is a modern offensive mind who is going to love 3 and 4 wide receiver sets. And when you start doing those kinds of things, and even when you go empty backfield and you go 5 potential wide targets, Daniel Bellinger is not going to be on the field ahead of Hyatt. He's not going to be on the field ahead of Slayton or Robinson or Nabers or even Singletary for that matter. He's just not.
Okay, so you're saying that basically he's not going to be on the field as much as those guys are going to be on the field.
Right. I think it's pretty academic that, he is not, in their minds, as much of a passing game threat or as explosive as they are. And I don't think they think that any tight end is going to be on this roster. I think those other guys that I named, if you're going to put 5 guys out, or maybe even Tracy instead of Singletary, becomes that running back who becomes the 5th guy out of the empty backfield. I don't see I do think there's going to be times where he's going to play, and there'll be times when Theo Johnson's going to get in there. Maybe a few times we'll see double tight ends, but for the most part, I don't see the tight end being a big factor.
Okay. Well, thanks for the insight. That's basically what I was really trying to get at.
Okay. Be well. Thank you. Go ahead. I mean, do you see it the same way? No?
I disagree slightly.
Okay.
Only slightly. I do think it's obviously the passing game is going to rely so much more heavily on the wide receivers, of course. But, I mean, Daniel Bellinger 2 seasons ago as a rookie, prior to the freak eye injury that he had, he was getting off to a very solid start. And we always talk about how tight ends are the position more so probably than most of the other positions where it really takes time for a rookie to get acclimated to the NFL and to really get up to speed with just everything that comes with playing in the NFL as opposed to playing at the collegiate level. He's now going into year 3. Obviously, Darren Waller is now retired. He is now at the top of the depth chart, at least as of right now. And I do think, Theo Johnson, from what I've seen from him the last couple weeks during this offseason program, Theo Johnson could eventually, at some point this season, overtake Bellinger for that top spot on the depth chart, at least when it comes to passing situations. But at the start of the season, I feel like it's going to be Bellinger out there. Whenever there's a tight end on the field, it's going to be Bellinger out there because he's shown that obviously he is more than capable as a blocker. He's got the size to block. He's just able to do it well. And I think he's also proven, while smaller sample size, but he's proven that he is able to catch the football when he's given the opportunity. He just hasn't been called upon to do that much in his first 2 seasons. I think with Darren Waller now retired, Brian Dable and Mike Cathcart, they're still going to run plenty of offensive sets with at least 1, if not 2 tight ends on the field. And I do think that Daniel Bellinger, I'm not saying he's going to go out there and, catch 70 passes this season. Probably not. You never know, but likely not. But I think Daniel Bellinger and Theo Johnson both, I think they're going to be tight end 1A and tight end 1B, and that who gets which spot might switch throughout the season. But I think both of them are going to play, at the very least, like decent, solid roles in the passing game. I don't think they're just going to, be out there to occasionally, or at least Bellinger, I don't think he's going to be out there just to occasionally block, and that's it. I think we're going to see him running routes, and I think with so much attention that's now going to be put on all of the wide receivers, I think both tight ends have a great opportunity to take advantage of some mismatches and, the defense kind of forgetting about them a little bit, and I think they're going to take advantage of that.
I hope it plays out like you say. I don't think it will.
All right.
I think if you want to emphasize Bellinger at all, they may lean on him a little bit more in the red zone or the deep red zone, which is inside the 10. That may be a place because you don't need the explosiveness and the yak yardage if you're that far deep into someone's territory after the pass is completed. All you need is for someone to be able to make a play at the goal line or in the end zone. And perhaps because of Bellinger's size and physicality and his catch radius, maybe that's a better place to lean on him. As far as the whole offense from goal line to goal line, I got to disagree with you. I don't think he's going to be
You don't think 3rd and 5s, 3rd and 6?
Look, I see too many playmakers on this roster, and I think this is an offense that wants to get the ball in the playmakers' hands. If I can get the ball into the hands of those other guys that I mentioned before or Daniel Bellinger's not touching the ball. It's really just that simple. He's just not.
But let me say this, and that's
no knock on the kid because I loved him as a rookie coming out. He had a really solid rookie season until he got hurt. I think he took a big step back last year. I was not, and I think he would tell you that. His sophomore season there was drop-off. His blocking was not as good, and his production in the passing game was not as good. He took a step back. He needs to rebound. If he's going to have even a chance to do what you do, he needs to rebound and be more like the guy he was as a rookie.
Well, other than the month that Darren Waller was out on IR, Daniel Bellinger saw his playing time decrease.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like is obviously a big reason why his production took a big step back. But
he didn't play as well.
But just in terms of what you said about like the explosiveness, well, obviously, Malik Nabers, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, no one's going to argue that Daniel Bellinger is more explosive than any of those guys, obviously. But I will say, and I've spoken many times since the draft about the reason why I was so excited about Theo Johnson was because of his athleticism. He scored a 9.99 on the relative athletic score, which ranked 9th out of pretty much 1,200 tight ends going back to 1987.
You don't think catchers know that?
Well, Daniel Bellinger, 2 years prior to that, he scored a 9.69 relative athletic score, which at the time ranked 35th out of 1,000 tight ends. Daniel Bellinger is still a very athletic tight end. No one's going to confuse him out there for Puka Nacua, but like let's not get it twisted. When he's matched up against, a linebacker in coverage, the advantage that he has in terms of his athleticism versus that linebacker could be more than the advantage, we might see from Malik Nabers compared to the athleticism of the top corner that's going to be guarding him. It's going to be all about finding mismatches in this offense.
That is true.
I obviously agree that Malik Nabers and Wan'Dale Robinson, most likely, as long as they're healthy, will lead the team in targets this season. I think most people would probably agree on that. But Daniel Bellinger and Theo Johnson, I think the coaching staff is going to find opportunities, find mismatches for them, not only in the red zone. I do agree with you that I think they will be more targeted more often when they get closer to the end zone. But I do think Dable and Kafka are going to find ways to take advantage of the two tight ends' athleticism, because they are two of the more athletic tight ends in the league. I think they're going to find ways to take advantage of that, and we're going to see the ball being put in their hands maybe more often than you think.
I hope so. Because that would bode well for the Giants. I just think if I'm a defensive coordinator, please pass the ball to one of those guys instead of Nabers or Robinson or Tracy or Hyatt or Slayton. Please pass it to one of the tight ends instead of one of those other guys. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm simply stating a fact. Now, how it plays out, I hope you're right. I hope that things open up so well for the tight ends that the other players are so dangerous and provide so much respect that the tight ends get left alone and they start making big plays. God bless. That means the Giants' offense is clicking on every cylinder imaginable. I don't see that happening, but I hope it does.
Only time will tell.
Time will tell, man. Time will tell. That'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live. We will be back tomorrow at the regular time, Pearson, correct? 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time for 1 hour of Big Blue Kickoff Live, New York Football Giants talk. We love it. The show, as always, is presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Giants. For Matt Citak, I'm Paul Dottino. We'll see you next time.
You know the old phrase, happy wife, happy life. Well, tacos and tequila is all I got to say, and my wife instantly happy. Hey, it's Otis with the O Show. Tacos and Tequila Mexican Grill is one of our favorite places to take the whole family. It's a great family atmosphere. It's awesome food. Like the tacos de carnitas. I love that. The pork belly tacos as well. We love the Buford location, but there's 5 convenient locations across town. Buckhead, Cumming, Ponce, Lawrenceville, Buford. It's Tacos and Tequila Mexican Grill. Why not some tacos tonight? Online at ttatl.com, or you can follow them on socials.
Zyn nicotine pouches deliver nicotine satisfaction anywhere, anytime, which means Zyn pairs well with you, your personality, your schedule, and your spontaneity. Zyn fits easily into your bag, pocket, and into your life because it's smoke-free, hands-free, and hassle-free. So the only person who will know you have a Zyn pouch in is you. Visit Zyn.com or head to your local convenience store today to find your Zyn. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.